Good afternoon and welcome to Supply Chain BR Raw, the next crisis, storage, inventory, storage space. This is the first in a series of webinars leading up to our premier event, Supply Chain BR 2021 in October. Our guest today is Steve DeHaan, President and CEO of the International Warehouse and Logistics Association. IWLA's 360 members provide warehousing, fulfillment, inventory, and supply chain management, transportation, and a broad range of manufacturing and value-added services to North America. Steve worked his way through college by working in a warehouse. He's been involved in supply chain businesses for 32 years, and in his own words, I love this industry. Steve?
Good afternoon, and thank you, Robert. And Robert is our guest today. He's going to be fielding many of our questions, and he's president of Wilson Warehouse, supporting the Baton Rouge and East Texas manufacturers and distributors with warehousing, logistics, and transportation services. He's a graduate of LSU's engineering and business schools. Robert has been at the helm of Wilson Warehouse for 40 plus years. A longtime member of the International Warehouse Logistics Association, the Southeastern Warehouse Association, and they're members of the Texas Warehouse Association. And it's important that Robert has served as the Southeastern, and they're very active in all of those areas. Today, I have a few questions prepared to get your conversation started, and we welcome your questions as well. And you'll see the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and you should feel free to check on that or even the chat. Hank on our staff will be reviewing those and cataloging any questions we get. He'll be feeding those out to Robert and myself. And as we see some things that may be of interest, we may go to those, or we'll take them at the end. But we have some prepared questions that we'd like to go through. And we'll try to incorporate as many as we can, but we are going to end this session at 12:55 in fairness to everybody who carved out some time for us today. So thank you. So Robert, let me start with the first question, and let's get us going here. And it is, what are the current challenges that manufacturing distribution companies are facing? We know some of the problems that they've had in the past. We know where they are, but with COVID, they're going to continue to face some issues, and as they come out of COVID, there's going to be issues for them. What do you see some of those things that warehouses and distribution centers should be aware of?
Well, certainly there are a lot of challenges today in 2020, and we expect some coming in 2021 and beyond. And let's talk about four of them: supply, labor, space, and new expectations from your customers. What we've learned in COVID was that offshore supply may not be as dependable as we had hoped. And some other factors, which we'll be talking about later, have led to some onshoring, some increase in manufacturing in the United States. And all of this is going to impact your ability to succeed in 2021. As we come out of COVID, as we come out of 2020, we're expecting extreme growth in 2021 and just out of sight growth in 2022. And as your business expands, labor is going to become an issue. Labor was tight before. Despite the high employment rate, qualified labor is tight today, and it's just going to get worse. Space is a big issue as well. You know, the folks commercial real estate people I talk to tell us that warehousing is the only sector of commercial real estate that's expanding this year. And that's logical. You have fulfillment, you have onshoring of production. There's high increased demand for warehouse space. And the fourth challenge we're going to face is raised expectations from our customers. You know, if I order a shirt online today before 3 o'clock, I expect to have it in my hands tomorrow by end of business. Now, customers are taking that expectation to other products as well. If I order a truckload of lube oil, 40,000 pounds on 18 pallets, I still expect it tomorrow by the end of business. We have to be prepared to meet the changing expectations of our market. Well, I think that's enough challenges to be getting on with, Steve.
That is, and there's lots more to happen. You know, when we look at 2021 and beyond, and businesses putting their strategic plans together or their goals for the future and trying to set success points for their companies, what trends and opportunities, particularly looking at 21, should business leaders pay attention to as they consider that future growth? What are some of the things they should be looking at?
Well, I think that the demand for warehouse space is just going to go up and up. Shortages that have been brought on by COVID and the more recent reduction in natural gas prices have led to onshoring of manufacturing. More of our stuff is being produced here as opposed to offshore. Now, when you have more manufacturing, you have more inventory, local inventory, and you need more space to support it. That's a trend. The other trend is, might be considered just in time, may be called just in case. What we've learned with COVID is, well, okay, so first of all, lean concepts have defined excess inventory as waste. And so for years now, we've been trying to reduce our excess inventory. But what we've learned under COVID is that zero inventory means zero sales. And sometimes safety stock is important to maintaining your sales. And with the reduction of interest rates, the cost of safety stock has been reduced. Yep. The third, one more trend is automation. We mentioned earlier that labor is going to be tight. What we're finding now is automation or semi-automation of the process is becoming more and more important. We just have to use our people for jobs that require those people skills. Movement of product may be automated going into the future.
Yeah, we hear a lot about automation, and maybe we'll get some questions on that down the road. But you mentioned space and the just-in-time format, and both in retail means no sales, and in manufacturer means no production if they don't have the proper supplies. So, and we hear about that a lot. And so what does an increase in demand for warehousing in real estate look like, both nationally and locally?
First, let me give a shout out to Lauren Buchholz with Siraj Rotenberg in Baton Rouge. She helped me with my research, pulling these numbers together. What we're seeing is national demand for commercial warehouse space is predicted to increase by over 400 million square feet in the next couple of years. Locally, it's expected to increase between 600,000 and 900,000 square feet just in the Baton Rouge area just next year. And since I'm in the business, I can tell you we don't have that kind of space around here. So it's space is going to get tight and it's going to get expensive. It's predicted that commercial real estate prices will go up by 6.5% next year alone.
Yeah, space is going to become a real key. I just read another report that with returns, there may be the necessity of 400 million square feet just to process returns through this COVID year. It's amazing what that is doing, and it's just we all know, we all see some of the things that are happening there, particularly those that are involved in reverse logistics. Let me just ask, how is this, that increase in demand for warehouse real estate going to impact businesses in the manufacturing and distribution sector? Because if you don't have space, what are you going to do?
So as we come out of 2020 into 2021, we're expecting to grow. You're expecting to grow. and 2022 is just going to be lights out. Now, as you plan your expansion, you're going to have to give a little more consideration into where your increased inventory and your increased space needs are going to be, because there's virtually no spec space going up in Baton Rouge. And so you're going to have to give it more consideration in your plans than perhaps you had in the past. And squeezing more inventories into existing space is going to crowd out your manufacturing space. So you may have to go out and acquire new space for it. And we need to consider that inventory management may not be your core competency. You have a great product. You spend a lot of time designing that product, marketing that product, attracting your customers. And what has been a side headache, that is inventory management, may get a lot worse in the future because the inventory is growing, the demands are growing, the expectations are growing, and you're going to have to divert attention from your core competencies to something that, well, is not marketing to your customers.
So how can a business or supply chain leaders prepare their operations and their companies for the predicted inventory storage crisis? And I mean, we've gone from too much inventory to too little inventory. We didn't have toilet paper. We had more than enough toilet paper. Then we didn't have toilet paper. I mean, we're going to swing through this over and over again. Many of the 3PLs are involved with food and FDA approvals, and they're running into the same thing. They have enough product for their grocery store distribution centers, or they don't. How do we get a good prediction model for this inventory storage issues?
Well, I guess my suggestion is to make your plans now. As I mentioned earlier, your expansion plans are going to have to give more consideration to inventory control, inventory space. Let's make your plans now. If you're going to acquire space, go out and get it now. It's going to be tight. But I'd also like you to consider partnering with a third-party logistics provider. Start that process now. It's a long chain of time when you recruit and partner up with a third-party logistics provider. It's a slow process that requires a lot of concentration on your part, and also that of your supplier. So get that process started now.
Yeah, I know with IWLA, we offer a course, we call it Economics, but really it's our industrial engineers they ask 65 questions, what we teach of their customers, so that they know exactly what their customers' needs are, and then they marry it up to their operations and design systems around it, so that they try to meet all of their criteria that their customers are there. But what are some of the non-negotiable criterias that somebody might look at when they look at a 3PL? I mean, a lot of people seem to think, oh, we'll just go there, we'll just negotiate something. But there are non-negotiables as well. What are some of those?
You want to look for experience in your market. I mentioned earlier that business-to-business fulfillment or business-to-customer fulfillment are different animals. Truckload, pallet level versus a single shirt. You need to make sure that your partner, your third-party logistics partner, has experience in your type of market. It's hugely important. And Steve, as you mentioned earlier about the returns, needing all this space for returns, that's part of fulfillment. Is in business to consumer fulfillment, you have to be prepared to receive the returns, process the returns, analyze it. It's a whole different process than many business to business logistics providers have to deal with. You may get returns, but it'll be a truckload at a time, and it'll be all the same stuff that's coming back to you. So you're looking for somebody with experience in your type, in your market. The other, another thing to consider is the 3PL's alignment with your goals and standards. You know, the 3PL will be the last people to see your product before your customer does. And you need a partner that shares your values. How are they going to treat your customers? What's important to them? Is it cost savings, or is it customer service? Or will they represent your brand the way you're asking, the way you want them to do? Another thing to consider is longevity in the market. And what I mean by this is you're investing time and resources with bringing on board a 3PL, as they are too. It's a long process before, if it's done correctly, before you get started. And it's a long process as you nurture that relationship. You really want a provider with staying power. Now, we sometimes talk about asset-based providers, people that own the buildings they're in versus people that have short-term leases or leases for the contract. That's not a bad thing, as long as the 3PL that you're dealing with is going to be there for you in the future. You want to get a feel for it. How long have they been in business in Baton Rouge? How long have they been in business elsewhere? And how long are they going to stay in this market and support you where you need to be supported?
Okay, I'm going to go off script a little bit here, Robert. I'm just going to ask you, and we have one question up here, and it goes to, what are the advantages for a company to use a third-party logistics warehouse for their warehouse operations?
Well, you know, I don't want to sound like the insurance commercial, but you only pay for what you need. That's the great thing about a 3PL. You know, if you're expanding and you need an extra 20,000 square feet to handle your inventory, and the only thing available is 40,000, you're going to pay for 40,000 square feet, right? So the third party will only charge you for what you actually store with them. They might charge you by the pound, they might charge you by the pallet, they might charge you by the piece or the SKU. But they don't charge you for empty space. And so one big advantage, especially when warehouse space is tight, especially when new space is expensive, a third-party warehouse provider allows you to only have to pay for the space you actually need, and only the time of the people that you actually need. So if you have a warehouse and you think you need a staff of 3 people, but you have to staff for holidays and vacation, maybe you need 5 people. Well, with the third party, a logistics provider, they handle all that. That's their job. You send them the product and they fulfill your orders for you. So you only pay for what you need. Another advantage is that you can focus on your core competencies. I mentioned this earlier, but you created your product. You love your product. It's a great product. You've worked hard to market your product. You know about your product and you know about marketing your product. Inventory management may not be your core competency, or it may be a distraction from what you need to be focusing on to make your product successful in the market. One of the good things about a third-party logistics provider is inventory management is their product. That's their life. Order fulfillment is what they do. And if they don't do it well, they don't have the longevity we were talking about. So a third-party provider allows you to focus on your core competencies, those things that are near and dear to your heart, and let you outsource important functions, but outsource those important functions to experts. So those are a couple of advantages of using a 3PL.
I'm going to switch over to IT because every 3PL has a large IT department. And my assumption is that if you've got 20,000 square feet to this customer and 40 to this customer and 10 to this customer, you have to keep it all separated and you have to be able to communicate back and forth with your customers relative to their inventory. Can you tell us just a little bit about the importance of ensuring that you've got the right underlying IT resources if you're going to work with a 3PL?
Well, it's hugely important. First of all, depending on the size, if you're a middle manager in a large industry, you probably have your own inventory system that needs to be able to communicate with the warehouse management system that your provider is using. If you're not, and you don't want to enter all this data yourself, then you need your provider to be able to track your inventory, separate it from other customers, provide you visibility either via the web or report generators or whatever to provide you the information you need to know about your sales fulfillment, your inventory on hand. Also, you need some confidence and accuracy. Pretty much everything today is electronic, either barcoded with RF or regular barcodes. You need somebody, a provider whose system supports that. Now, if you break that up and get into the type of fulfillment, if you're in a B2C, a business to consumer environment, you need somebody that can react fast, somebody that can get your order electronically, get it on the floor, and get it out the door in a timely fashion. And they need a software system that will support that will interact with you through EDI or other packages, deal with the shippers, get them on board, all electronic, and get the right product to the door and as fast as possible. So the WMS system that your third-party logistics provider uses is hugely important to their success and your success. And frankly, if you're growing and you've had a small inventory on hand because you were perhaps offshoring your production, that inventory control is going to be more and more difficult, and it might be a big advantage to you to latch on to what the 3PL's software warehouse management system can provide you.
Okay, here's a ringer question.
Oh boy.
There's about 3 million truckloads of goods moving every day. There's 55,000 truckloads every day that are not moving. IWA is getting real concerned about the Department of Labor and the Department of Transportation, again, reducing the number of hours truck drivers can drive by almost 20%. That would be 600,000 loads a day, again, not moving. You probably offer help with transportation of your customers' goods. How are you going to ensure that their goods are moving when everybody else's aren't?
Many third-party logistics providers have a fleet. Wilson Warehouse has a fleet, mostly to move product back and forth between the manufacture point and our facilities, but also to the end user. And that's a crucial advantage for your provider to have. But also the 3PL is shipping constantly. And they have existing relationships with not just the LTL carriers and the FedExes and the UPSs, but also over-the-road drivers and the lines there, and they can help. Route your product. Now it's a constant problem. We handle a lot of export, and the cutoffs before a ship is usually, it has to be met, and the carriers have trouble with the equipment. They have to get the dollies, they have to get the containers, and they have to get them to you, and that's a constant problem that we have in that. But we have relationships again with the carriers in our area, and close interaction with them to get those what we call the trucks available, or the containers available, equipment shortages covered, and working with you. And it may take working late hours to get them covered, but they certainly are eager to help, and we're eager to work with them. And a 3PL with its own fleet can also backstop you if the over-the-road carriers can't have it in an emergency. They can divert trucks to your business, and also get it from your production to the warehouse. For instance, we had a new customer a couple of years ago who was doing their own storage. They came to us to do it, and we said, okay, we'll handle it. You don't have to worry about it. We'll come pick it up, and we'll ship it for you. So we were able to help them out on that end, and take away that concern so they could focus on their product.
The buzzwords in the business community over and over again. Well, let me just hold on a second. I got questions in the queue. Let me do this. How do I help my leadership team understand the value of a 3PL? We are trying to do everything ourselves, and it is killing us. How can a warehouse manager sell to their leadership that they need help?
You know, when we deal with many potential customers, they look, first of all, they understate the cost because their space they think is a sunk cost. They think of labor as a sunk cost. However, there is a concern factor when you first outsource. How are these people going to behave? How are they going to treat my inventory? How are they going to treat my customers? So the first thing to do is to make a case about your core competencies, what you do well, and what you do well, but maybe as a side issue. And then review with a couple of potential 3PLs, find out if they have experience in your market, and then find out what advantages they offer. They may already be set up to offer your customers higher visibility of where the product they buy from you are. And so the first thing is to define your core competencies. Try to get a true a picture of what your costs are, and then find out from local providers if they can do it better, and maybe they can do it cheaper. And that will raise some eyebrows. If you tell them that I can outsource and save money and give you the room to expand, well, I think you've met the opportunity there.
Robert, when you look at different industries out there, which ones do you see that are going to be more critical to the inventory shortage than the others? Can you name a couple of industries and or product lines that are going to have issues?
I think what we're seeing is onshoring of production. And that hits two completely separate industries. So for instance, with the reduction in natural gas prices, it's a lot easier to produce raw materials. It's cheaper to produce raw materials here than it is to produce them overseas. This is a sea change for me. This was something we fought for years and years. It used to be that they continued to produce in the United States because they had such an investment in the capital investment in their production facilities. But they were slowly moving, as they were aging, they were slowly moving that production offshore. And now with the reduction in natural gas prices, the production onshore is becoming economically feasible, in fact, a better option. And they get to control their inventories here. So that's the big industry side of it. The small industry side of it is people that found out they could shave a couple of cents off production by offshoring it, found out the hard way that zero inventory means zero sales. And so I see people that are producing locally their product are going to see a big demand in warehouse needs and order fulfillment needs here locally. And that may be that the person who's outsourcing the production may be outsourcing the production to a local provider now than they would in offshoring it. Because what they found was when the containers stopped getting filled in Asia, you ran out of inventory here. So what industries? I think automotive is about to take off like nobody's business, and everything that goes into it is going to increase. I think raw materials are going to increase. And now I think you're going to see a reevaluation of pretty much all production, manufacturing, mid-market manufacturing in the United States. It's going to be across the board for those industries.
A couple evaluation type questions here. One is, as a mid-sized business trying to scale, how do I know when's the right time to engage a 3PL partner?
Well, I think that what we're seeing is 2021 and 2022 are going to be big growth years, and the demand for space is going to go up significantly in the next couple of years. And you don't have to jump in with both feet. You can jump in a little bit, and it's time really now to start with that process of finding a partner. You can move your business to a 3PL overnight, but if you move it over 3 months or 6 months, you're probably going to be a lot happier with it. And so I would say the time is now really to consider 3PLs and getting ready for it. Because one thing we're sure about is that demand for space is going up. Demand for your product is going to go up as our economy comes out of this downturn. And we need to get ready now for the coming increase.
If I'm thinking that I want to consider maybe a 3PL to expand part of my operation out into, what's the first thing I do? Do I make that phone call, or what do I have to do to get ready for that type of a relationship?
Well, there's a couple of tools that can really help. The first one, of course, is yours, iwla.com. If you go to iwla.com, you'll see a graphic that says find a warehouse. Click on that graphic and enter your location, and it will tell you third-party quality third-party logistics providers in your area. An alternate resource is, I have to plug the Southeastern Warehouse Association. It's an association of warehouses from Virginia down to Louisiana. Their website is swaonline.org, and they have a find warehouses drop-down, and you can select your state from there. Those two organizations will ensure that whoever you select is a professional organization that cares about and increasing their professionalism because they're members of those trade organizations. Of course, they have Leonard's Guide, and you can even just Google warehousing in your area, and you'll get some search results from there.
I'll just put in another little plug for IWA members and the Warehouse Association members. But we had Pricewaterhousecoopers do an economic study for our industry a while back. And there are, IWA has 360 companies. There's 1,600 3PL companies out there, and they're all good. But the 360 companies do 60% of the 3PL business out there. So it speaks volumes to the members who are talking to each other, who are getting the education they need, who are linking together, and finding somebody who's a member of an association and cares about their industry enough to invest in it is really important. And I just share that for the customers that are out there. I got another question here. I'm going to throw it out here. And how can the two-year colleges help SCM ramped up in the terms of curriculum and producing job-ready students who will cover the labor gaps mentioned previously? What kind of labor can we get?
Well, in many, let me first start with a couple of four-year institutions in close to Baton Rouge that have logistics professional degrees out there. So your mid-level big industry logistics houses are looking for new, talented, educated workers to take those spots. Clearly, that it allows a new person to hit the ground running in the industry and to understand the jargon and how to do analysis and those things to be successful. Also in the local community colleges and in the trade schools, clearly we need workers that are forklift capable, able to handle light computer operations, able to handle automated warehouse retrieval and storage systems. We need not only that, a customer service cadre. You know, half of our folks at Wilson Warehouse are actually customer service reps. They're supporting our customers and getting the orders out the way they want. So we need customer service people, we need tradespeople, and we need professional people. And as I said, I know Southeastern has a degree, and a logistics degree, and I believe LSU does as well. So there are, the universities in the area are responding to the need.
There's a question here about certifications, but I might take that question. If you go to the Find a Warehouse site, it lists a lot of different certifications for like food and chemical and all different types of operations that you may have. And you want to look at those certifications to find out what you want. I will say this, you know, a lot of the organizations handle some food, and they have to be FDA certified. And those warehouses are always really clean because they have to be. And so there's some situations like that that you might want to take a look at those certifications out there and do that.
That's let me comment on that, Steve. That's certainly true, and those professional certifications are used by the 3PLs really to up their game. Wilson Warehouse is ISO certified. We're members of the National Association of Chemical Distributors. Working on that food grade stuff. We're have several certifications to we're members of Operation Clean Sweep. There are these certifications give you the confidence that you're dealing with a professional organization, someone who cares about your product. One of our brand promise is that we are stewards of goods and community here at Wilson Warehouse. That means we take care of your product and our community. That's the kind of partner you want, somebody that sees more than a narrow margin, but sees themselves as part of the community and caring about the community and caring about your product.
I've got another question here, and this is a really good one, and we're having trouble predicting demand due to COVID. We understand there's going to be a shortage of warehouse space, but not sure what we can commit to now. What flexibility does a 3PL offer my company?
Well, you just lobbed an easy one for me there. The reason you want to partner with the 3PL is because it's not predictable what you're going to need. If you knew that the inventory you had was going to be X, and that related to Y space and Z employees, and it would never change, well, then you might be able to be very successful doing this by yourself. But if your business is going to shrink or it's going to grow, you need a provider that will allow you to do that without penalizing you for it. And that's really what the 3PL does. Is, as I mentioned earlier, you only pay for what you need, right? To coin a phrase there, you only pay for the space and the product that you need. And as we go forward, yes, it's going to be uncertain times. I'm not really sure. I keep hearing about uncertain times. I don't remember certain times, but we don't know what the future will hold, but we expect it to be one of growth. And partnering now with the 3PL will give you the ability to grow without having to increase your footprint, your real estate footprint.
I heard a comment recently from a customer of a 3PL, and I'd kind of like you to get a comment on this. They said, I didn't realize what I was getting involved in. What I found is I went there and I had these needs, but the 3PL served me at a much higher level than I even thought possible. I asked them how they were able to do that, and they said, because our systems are designed to our most needy and most demanding customer, and all our other customers get the benefit of what we design for our highest level customer. Is that true?
Well, it's certainly true. When you work your level to a certain level of support of your customers, the lead times, the accuracy, the order fulfillment process, the customer service side of it, it's not practical to say, I'm going to give these folks really good service and these folks over here just average. That's not how you work. You drive to the highest expectation, and that is for everybody. Well, that's a good comment. I like that comment because it talks about, it speaks to who we are around here. You don't have a customer that you slough off on. You have all customers are valuable. All customers are treated well, And you know, part of the lean process is to standardize the process. And so when you have a shipping process standardized, and it has to meet the most accuracy and the fastest shipping and order selection and customer service, you can't, if you had a different system for another customer, that wouldn't be standard, and that would lead to a waste in the system. So I like that quote. I'm gonna steal that. Thank you.
Let me see what time we got. We've got 4 minutes left. If I'm a customer of yours and I'm worried about timely deliveries, etc., and I'll just share a story. I'm at the STB, we're testifying, the railroad says we're 56% of the time, we are on time. And one of our 3PL members stood up and said, you know, we run a trucking operation, and if we're not on time 96, 97, 98% of the time, we get fired. Do you find that that your customers are tracking you to that, and how important is all that timeliness in the marketplace?
Well, certainly, it's one of the key performance indicators. I was in a stewardship meeting just last week. On-time shipments, it has to be over 98%. Accuracy shipments have to be over 98%. 99.8% is the key, is the KPI. Best in class is 99.9. You have to, the industry has KPIs that you have to drive to. And certainly, if our on-time rating, what did you say, 50%? We wouldn't be in business.
56%.
It's
they
laughable.
were bragging about it because they were the best of the railroads.
Well, that's just crazy talk. I mean, shipping. You know, sometimes we can't control delivery, but we can certainly control shipping. Yep. And 100% really is the only acceptable acceptable KPI, because if it didn't ship on time, a flare need to go up way before that, and so that we're on top of it.
Really quick answer, a good question. How long will it, if I decide to work with a 3PL, how long will it take you to evaluate, get me a rate, to work out all the arrangements and get my goods in? And I know it depends what the product is and how it's coming, but overall, what's kind of an average period of time to ramp up into a 3PL for some additional space?
You know, our business development is more one of consulting than transactional. If I'm a truck line, I might be able to tell you the price of a truckload from here to there over the phone and execute. But if I'm approached by a potential customer, I have a lot of research to do, what their product is, what their expectations are, who their customers are. I can certainly give you rates over the phone, and they're about as good as the time you spent listening to it. It's not unusual to have an onboarding process of 3 to 6 months with a 3PL if you want it to be successful. Now, clearly, in an emergency, you can do it much faster. We found out on a Friday that we were taking over a facility on Monday. We did it. It had to be done, but it wasn't how we would have liked to approach it. So to be successful, be prepared for a longer sales process than you might be used to. And if they want to give you an answer real fast, then they don't know what your product is, because every product's unique. You know, it has a different footprint, a different number of SKUs. It has different handling requirements. And so it's more of a consultative process going to a 3PL.
Robert, on behalf of the industry, particularly the Baton Rouge area, you were instrumental in putting this together. We want to say thank you for that. And we hope that we have many more of these in the future. You can see we got some other future dates up here. We would love to get in person somewhere along the line, because we know the networking is just absolutely fabulous when we can gather together and talk about industry issues as we move forward. But again, a big thank you to you for all the work you did in putting this together, et cetera. I'll leave the final words to you.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thanks for participating. It's leaders in the industry like you that allow us to make a professional industry, to operate in a professional manner. And we are all stewards of our customers, stewards of their product, of our co-workers and our community. And IWLA is a good steward of the warehouse logistics community. And thank you for all the hard work you do.
Thank you all. And we're going to sign off now, and please join us for the next one. We'll let you know when it is. Take care and have a good afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.